Good evening, everyone. In the 21st century, right now, we live in a world dominated by computers, algorithm, arithmetics, data models, data analytics. Every time I watch a YouTube video, there is at least two, three ads every 10 minutes telling me how switch to a career in data science and modeling will be very rewarding for me in the future. There are large language models, and we are almost bordering quantum computers, which they say will predict future events with astonishing accuracy. And then a Champions League game happens, and all these predictions, large data models, statistics, everything gets thrown out of the window, and we get proper football, which is what we had exactly this week during the Champions League nights. There were a lot of forecasts, lot of predictions, all these computers, supercomputers, AIs, and all this bullshit unloading their garbage. But ultimately, it was the manager, the players who took to the field, and the game that won. What a week of football! And we have here with us Kriska Khrushchev, who is our guest Real Madrid fan for the night, and our usual suspect Sanket, here to discuss what transpired in the last four eventful games. So, Kriska, I'll start with you. The first match that we had and that we are bringing into discuss is what happened in Nou Camp, or the Barcelona's current ground, which is not exactly Nou Camp but your home ground. You did not expect this defeat to PSG, did you, Kriska? How do you feel about it? Let's voice your emotions before we talk statistics.
Well, honestly, it's mixed feelings, right? Because we didn't expect to be here given the squad that we have. So at the end of first leg, we had overachieved as a team. And then we scored in the second leg to begin with. We had a two-goal cushion. So our hopes got up naturally, right? And then it feels like the rug was pulled from under. So it feels like Barca keeps finding new inventive ways to lose from winning situations, and it's never like the same mistakes. It's always like something unique. You let somebody take a quick corner and your game is just done from there. You let some guy who was never like scored come in and score a brace, talking about Wijnaldum. And then this time you had Ronald Araujo, who had a masterclass monster, who he has been having a very good season, arguably our best defender. Complete brain fart of a moment, red card. From there, it was inevitable, right? A team with the likes of Dembele or Mbappe, of course. We all knew what was going to go down, and that's exactly what happened.
So, Kriska, it is kind of very well known that the tide start turning against Barca after the Araujo red card. But I did see among a lot of Barcelona fan circles that some of them were unhappy with the decision and some felt hard done by the referee. What is your opinion about the red card? Do you think it was fair, and if so, why?
I think it was a fair red
Or
card,
why
man.
not?
But here is where like Barca's absolute misfortune really comes into the picture, right? So Ronaldo fouled. I forgot who the last man was. Could have been Bruno Mendes or Barcola maybe. And if he had just committed the foul outside the box where he was the last man, right? If the foul had happened inside the box, it would have been a penalty and yellow card. PSG would have leveled. We would have still had our one goal advantage from the first leg, but it would have been 11 against 11, and the tide could have gone very differently. But because it was just like inches away from the D box, the referee had to pull out the red card because it was a clear goal scoring opportunity denied. Obviously, he wouldn't give the penalty, and a
Yeah,
free kick would have been a slap on the wrist. So I
but
feel the
the
red
player
card was.
himself, Kriska, Araujo himself was refusing to leave the field, and it eventually led to a chain of events wherein your manager Savi and another person of his coaching staff were also red carded. So it is clear that the player thought it was not a red card. Your management did not think it was a red card offense, but you here as a fan, you are saying that red card was a fair call.
That was definitely I mean, unfortunate, but if the tide were reversed, if it were say somebody like Lewandowski in the other side, he was through on goal, and somebody like Marquinhos pulled him just before he is about to score. I would have been furious if it weren't a red, right? Imagine just getting a free kick, and we all know Barca's luck
See,
with free
Chris,
kicks.
I'm not trying to pick an argument with you because I also personally agree that it was a fair call. I definitely don't think that the red card was undeserved. Because the way I see it, first of all, Barcola, who according to me was the player of the match, he had clearly overtaken Araujo, and more importantly, he had already cut in towards the goal. So he started running in from the wing, but then he had neared the center of the goal when he was being fouled. And the argument was that Araujo was trying to put was that the youngster Kubasi, he was there to cover, so it was technically not a last man challenge. But Kubarsi, he was way away. There was no way he was getting there. The way Barcola had chipped the ball in front of him, it was perfectly in between Ter Stegen and Kubarsi, and he would have gotten to the ball. First thing.
Yeah.
Second thing that Araujo was arguing was that it was a shoulder-to-shoulder tackle, wherein it's a fair challenge, at best a yellow card offense. But it was not actually the shirt pull or the grab that was the major part of the foul, because replays clearly showed that Araujo's knees had crashed into Barcola's thighs, and that is
Yes,
enough to put
Arrow had
anybody off
actually
balance.
bundled onto the PSG forward, right? It was all again, they
Yeah,
were unlucky on multiple levels in that. On another day, Araujo wouldn't have lost his balance and he would have been through on goal and scored. Just unfortunate. But by the way, I'd like to correct Xavi was not red carded for that. He was red carded
he was
later in the game.
eventually, yeah, he was
Eventually.
recorded later in the game for kicking at the Champions League pads.
It's
I mean,
interesting you bring that up because I
I still
have
can't understand, guys. There is absolutely okay. TK, you got a red card early in the game, but then you went on to concede 4 goals. I mean, if that is the team, I'm sorry, guys, but it doesn't warrant a Champions League semi-final spot.
but they were the
If that
better
is,
team. I mean, I'm not gonna be like Barca players and say that we deserve to win, right? But the 4-1 scoreline does not justify our performance across the two legs, in my opinion. And I was watching this live at work on a big screen, right? And we had other fans, and I had actually called it out. You know what? The game is gonna end 4-1 in the first half when PSG hadn't scored, because we all know they were going to score a couple of goals at some point. Then obviously Barca had to put all the players up front, and with somebody like Mbappe, the counter attack is inevitable, right? But the fourth goal wouldn't have been scored if it weren't for the advantage that PSG had, or Barca's urgency and the desperation to take the game to extra time.
I mean, PSG did the remontada on Barcelona, and guess who was the winning manager on the both sides?
Yeah, it was Luis Enrique on both sides,
Luis
most
Enrique.
especially.
It was
Yeah,
kind of poetic, man. I mean, they took Neymar. They should have taken Luis Enrique.
Right?
there is more than one poetic angle to that, because the player who actually scored 2 goals against Barca, where what Barca fans hoped would eventually be the Neymar replacement when they bought him after they had the huge sum which PSG paid. They bought Dembele. He spent half his time chilling in the hospital, then left to
Ambulance.
PSG. Pissed all fans off. Came back and scored 2 goals. Put the game to
And
rest.
another
I
thing
mean, the
is, he has just
celebration was
scored.
bad, man.
Another thing is,
Yeah,
He just
Dembele
Casemiro.
has scored only
Three
three goals
goals.
in this, and two of them are
Yeah,
against
and two of
Barcelona.
them are against Barca. So I
and the
just want
man
to get into a
celebrated like
little bit. Yeah, I'll
no,
just
no. I
get
think
into a
the
little bit more
celebration was of
details
wisdom.
about the game in order to just understand better what actually happened. So for me, the way I see it, I thought the first 20 minutes the game was fairly balanced and Barcelona had the slight upper hand. And one thing that stood out to me during the first 20 minutes was it was clear that Barcelona's defensive weak link has to be Cancelo. Excellent player, but not exactly a great defender out there. But during the first 20 minutes, Cancelo actually impressed me. He put in, I think, 4 tackles and he got all 4 spot on. It was a 10 out of 10 performance from Cancelo for the first
I
20
don't know
minutes,
the
which really, really surprised me because he was excelling defensively. It's usually on the other end of the field where he shows his skills, but this time around, Cancelo was doing it very much perfectly. And then suddenly the red card happens. Araujo gets sent off, and again when the cross from the left wing comes from the PSG left wing comes in,
completely switches off.
he switched off. I think that was where the game started to change, because up until then it was a good defensive performance from Barca so far. But that one key moment, it was obviously you can say that Dembele ran in from his blind side, but a defender who is playing Champions League semi-final at this level, he's expected to have better awareness than what Cancelo showed back then.
Yeah.
He completely got caught out. Excellent finish from Dembele, no doubt about it. Excellent finish. But to be honest, up until then, Dembele, I don't personally like this player much because I know he produces some numbers in goals, assists, and everything, but I don't see a lot of refinement in him. Because up
Yeah.
until then, I saw him stumble over the ball once while trying to dribble. He had ran the ball out while trying to chip
He
and
really
chase
wanted
a couple
to
times.
prove a point to
Yeah,
Barca. He was
I think
trying
yeah,
to
he
I
had.
I think Dembele, to be honest, right from his Borussia Dortmund days, he hasn't improved much, barring that one season where he spent under Xavi before leaving Barcelona. Apart from that, his final the last ball has always been lacking, and he's been always
Even
wanted.
apart from that, I think he just tends to get caught out of the pitch. I don't think he's fully in the game when he is in the game. Because I remember for the penalty which eventually Mbappe put away, Dembele, he was not paying attention. The ball came to him suddenly. He was not expecting the ball at all. He took a bad touch. He was not expecting the ball. He suddenly reacted, took a bad touch, went into the box, and that eventually, somehow, fortunately for him, led to the penalty. So very unrefined player, but he seemed to have delivered where it matters, and he seemed to have hurt the people who actually cared for him the most over the past 5 years. Extremely, extremely poetic. Now, one thing I want to check with open question. Anybody can take this. Do you think Barcelona have started this trend or pattern of the much overused but extremely valid term mentality when it comes to knockout stages? Because this is not the first time that they have lost from winning positions in Champions League. Do you think
I think
the
you
trend is already set and it's just a repeating story over and over again? And what might
No,
be the
I
reasons?
don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I have similar questions over 10 years since Sir Alex left Manchester United. But I don't think so. Barca is still that behind. I mean, I know there are a lot of new youngsters coming in. There's still that kind of, I mean, there is a lot of instability at the club. I mean, look what they're doing to Xavi, right? And Xavi did not perform badly. And whatever resources he had, he's a brilliant manager. He won them the league. Come on. I mean, Arsenal stuck with Arteta 5 years with those performances. And you start getting impatient of nothing, and you want him to pull a magic out of the hat, and then he's leaving at the end of the season. So where's the stability? I mean, the manager goes in and kicks it out, then who is going to listen to him? Where's that long-term plan? And so I think, I mean, given the stature of the club, and given they have seen other clubs falling through similar patterns, I don't think so. They are going to be in the shadows for too long. It just takes one winner, and they have this wonderful academy. I'm not a big Barca fan, but I think La Masia is producing some wonderful talents. Give them some time, give them the leadership, and I hope they'll get through. And they have the magic in them. I think the players do have that clutch in them.
I think first and foremost, my main question is to Krishka here. Like, what do you think about the Gundogan's comments after the game? I think that is coming in from a leader in the dressing room, I would say, because Gundogan has seen it, done it before with
Yeah.
City, with Dortmund as well before. So
I
I
think
think
Krishka
that
would
was
like
a
to
very
take this question.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think this is something that I've been wanting to take for a long time since the game ended, right? And I'll start off from Sanket's point, right? I I want to partially agree with Sanket, but every time I feel like, you know what, I'm on board with the idea that Barcelona is seeing the back of all the ghosts of past in terms of crumbling the self implosion and all. They keep finding new ways to do this, man. I don't know. Just when I think I can trust them, they're like, you know what? Hold on your horses, mate. We have this new thing that we are trying out. We want to see if we can implode this way. So I'm not
How
sure, but
how how does it feel to be Manchester United of Spain?
oh come on, man, that's a little. Yeah, I can't
How
pretend
does
like
it
it's.
feel to be South Africa of football?
I think that's a much accurate comparison, and I would like to think that we are on a positive trend, right? Simply because you're at rock bottom, you can. It's next to impossible to go backward from here on, and it's also important to note that in the last 2 years we have kicked out or we have let players leave. Most of them were, the core of all of Barca's implosions. And we have a new core in Gavi or Araujo, like he had a one bad game, or somebody like Rafinha who have this never give up mentality, right? And I think that's really pleasing to see. But at the same time, I also noticed that players like Araujo, or even take somebody like Lewandowski for that matter, these are absolute monsters, right? On the pitch. They're imagine if those two played in a team like Italy, they'd be picking up fights every now and then. They're not gonna let the opposition, bully them. But somehow when these players come into Barca, there is this need to be theatric. Even somebody like Araujo, if you go and elbow him, he's just comfortably, rolls over in the ground, and he's looking for the foul. I think this mentality is coming from Barca's whole we play beautiful football, and this holier than thou attitude that we are better on the pitch than anybody else, and that's the only way we will win games. And it really worked under Pep Guardiola when you had that magical trio of Iniesta, Xavi, and Busquets. Now you simply don't have the players, and you still try to play that beautiful football and attract foul. But these players are not built for that. Somebody like Lewandowski, he is supposed to bulldoze the opposition defenders. He is supposed to bring in that dog-like mentality where I am not gonna give up the ball no matter what. That's what Mbappe does, right? And you can see the difference. That's why somebody like Mbappe is attracted to Real Madrid, because that's the mindset that they have. It's not like I am the best player or the most talented player on the pitch, but I want the ball more than anybody else on the pitch. I really miss that desperation and that sense of urgency from most Barca players. And the sad fact is, even players with that mentality, they come in, they sort of succumb to this pressure of Barca's way, and they gravitate towards theatrics and antics rather than infuse their philosophy on the club. And this is where Casemiro's question comes into picture, right? The comments Gundogan made, and for anybody watching who is not aware, Gundogan was really accurate. We had a good game, we had an advantage, we had to go through, but we made a mistake. That's how a world class player is supposed to think these things through. And he was self critical of the team, and rightly so, Araujo in particular. And meanwhile, you have Araujo coming in and saying, I prefer not to speak. That's not the attitude that you have, that will take you to a semi-final or finals in the Champions League. Like, where is that accountability? Like, you got a red card, your fans acknowledge that you're still the best defender on the team. We stand by you. The in return, what we expect is that ownership, right? You have to put your hand up and say, hey, I made a mistake. And somebody like Gundogan, who's a treble winning captain that City and Pep desperately tried to keep, if he comes and says something, a 24-year-old Araujo who has not won any silverware in UCL, uh, you are the captain. You are supposed to stand side by side and say, yes, this is right. We have an El Clasico coming up in 2 days. We will work on what missed, and then we'll go fix that in El Clasico. Not say, oh no, some things I don't want to speak. Like, this is not some happy hour in a kindergarten. You are playing professional football at the highest level. If you do a mistake, you own up to that.
Before any time, I just want to give my flowers to Vitinha, who was amazing in the game for PSG, and he needs to start for Portugal in the Euros, in my opinion. So he was out of the world, controlling the midfield for PSG. But if you ask my opinion, 11 on 11, the game was in Barca's pocket. They threw it away.
So I think we have pretty much summarized, and thank you for that in-depth analysis, which also can be counted as a rant, Kriska. I think it. I agree with most of what you said. So we'll move on to the next fixture, another fixture where all the predictions, all the okay, I think Riska is still not done. So let's give him a little bit more time, because obviously, you let sufferers. I always stand with the oppressed, and right now Barcelona are the oppressed. So I'll be charitable, magnanimous. Riska, do you agree with what Savi put in towards the game in terms of tactics, in terms of the aggression that he asked the players to show? You cannot say that he wasn't aggressive, because he got red carded for being aggressive. But was it the type of aggression that you fans were hoping for, or was it just hot headed?
Hot headed. And see, if you look back at Xavi's reign, more than his tactics or his promotion of youth, one thing that's gonna stand apart is how many red cards he has gotten. We are talking about arguably the calmest player on the pitch ever. And I don't know why Xavi all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, I was Bruce Banner when I was a player. Now I am this incredible Hulk. I'm gonna be on the sidelines, you know, punching referees and kicking the UEFA signboards and all. I absolutely don't understand what Xavi is trying to achieve. And again, like this goes back to this high-handed mentality, right? I'm better than you. You're not letting me be. Rather than get in line and play football in the evolved way that it's happening.
Also,
He's
Krishka,
not
I think it matters on the pitch because your team is in a rough match.
on the pitch.
The
You are still
odds are
timid.
piled up against you, and your
Yeah,
manager, the person who is supposed to give the instructions to guide
yeah.
them through, he's gone.
He's
He's
off.
sent off.
Like we just have Oscar Klopp, coaching us all the time. Like, and because of this, we are going to be like, hey, we anyway have Klopp lookalike. We are not even going to go for Klopp now because Klopp is already managing half the games because Xavi is busy sitting in the box.
And what do you think about the banter between Luis Enrique and Xavi fighting offline, saying like who's the better coach of Barcelona, or who has done more, or who has won more? Did you catch
It's
that?
not a rivalry. They always kick our ass. How are we comparing Luis Enrique, a treble winning coach, to Xavi, whose only record is getting most red cards as Barca manager more than anybody?
I
I
mean,
don't want to be
just to throw in a funny stat, Savi has more red cards as a manager than he has had in his career as a player.
20-year career.
Yeah. So from that we move on. The another fixture which was widely expected to go in favor of again a La Liga team was when Atletico played Borussia Dortmund. It was widely predicted that it is Borussia Dortmund were the team that all the fans were hoping that the team which they support gets drawn against. They were the ones who everybody wanted to face, and Atletico got them. Many people counted it to be walkover. But what do we have here? Borussia Dortmund, I would say, comprehensively put away Atletico Madrid. So, any comments on the match in terms of what happened and how Dortmund took the game to Atletico? I think I'll have this given to Sanket. So, Sanket, you a fan of Atletico's methods, Diego Simeone, and if so, why?
Not that much of fun, but I think I just have kind of liking for Atletico and the persistence Diego Simeone has. I mean, they have been frustrating.
I'm not
They frustrated
surprised.
my team. They have frustrated my team United in the last Champions League. I was really pissed. They play haram ball, but they win. I mean, fun fact. I like to take Atletico in FIFA. I like to play with that double striker defensive counter attacking approach. But then I
That
think
the
that was good.
3-5-2.
I think Atletico. Yeah, 3-5-2. So I think it was always a game to be taken either ways. I mean, whosoever had a crack at it. Few of the Dortmund midfielders attackers had a really good game. They just completely took away Atletico by
Sabitzer, I would
storm.
say in particular.
Savage in particular, little bit of Sancho here and there. Not Sancho was not that good throughout the game, but yeah, we had glimpses of him, brilliantly gliding through the field on instances. That was a nice part of it. Apart from that, I think it's always been for this season Atletico. They had, they were missing that Griezmann magic. They have won all the major matches from Griezmann magic. I think it's just I just feel I don't know. I don't watch that many matches,
And
but I just
you
feel.
cannot, yeah, you cannot blame Griezmann for not turning up big time this match because he has been carrying Atletico in all tournaments so far this season. He
It's
has
a few
been
players,
having
right?
a
I think it's
massive
a
season.
pretty average team today. So, yeah, it's a pretty
Even
average team.
Simeone seems to be losing some of his magic because if not for Cristiano Ronaldo, Simeone would have had at least one UCL title by now. Uh, and that stat where except Chelsea and Cristiano Ronaldo, Simeone hasn't lost to anyone else in the knockout stages, which has finally been broken right now by Dortmund, and that too through a fairy tale comeback.
An absolute fairy tale comeback inspired by some veterans. So there was some heavy Bayern Munich influence in all of their goals. It was Mats Hummels who was the chief creator for from the back for Dortmund. It was also Sabitzer who inspired. I think Sabitzer absolutely bulldoze Rodrigo de Paul in a midfield, battle of dogfight, because they both have that similar approach towards midfield game where they're both hard runners. They love to go track back, put in the tackles, put in the hard work, and I think it was the midfield where Dortmund actually won the game. So Koke again, as classy a player as he is, the dynamism that Dortmund brought in, I think Atletico couldn't match it, and again, very well deserved victory. So and the next match, Dortmund versus PSG. A lot of people will expect PSG to make a cakewalk out of Dortmund, but based on what we've seen so far, it is anybody's game. And moving on from that, we have
Before before
Can I add
before we
something
move
to this?
before we move off, I have one question for you, VS. What do you think about Martin starting a UCL quarterfinals but not deemed good enough to start for Chelsea against Blackburn or any other
Uh,
second
so
division team?
uh, I was hoping to conveniently avoid this particular topic because I think we have severely mismanaged the left back prospects that we have at our club Chelsea. First of all, Chilwell, he's not in good form and he has been constantly nursing injuries for the last 2.5 years. Secondly, we had two promising and I dare say Ian Madsen was not the only promising left back that we had at Chelsea. We had both Louis Hall and also Ian Madsen, both excellent players in their own right, whom I actually wanted to see come into the club slowly and take over. Always rated Madsen. Some people doubt his defensive ability and say that he might not be ready to play at the top level. But what he has done, what he has been doing in Bundesliga and right now in Champions League, people at Chelsea, they need to look themselves in the mirror and ask, why are we spending money when we have all this sitting in our pocket already in our purses? So Klasimir, I will not dive too much into it. I just hope that Martin comes back next season, starts playing an active role, if not a direct starter, at least on the bench, and develops at Chelsea, because an excellent player has an eye for goal, has that, he's that has that buccaneering runs down the flank. Absolutely love him. I just hope he comes back and has a career at Chelsea, because one thing is for sure, even if he doesn't have a good career at Chelsea, regardless of where he plays, he's going to have a great career. I just hope he comes back. So with that, we move on, and we have
Also,
with us
I
our,
think,
yeah, I was just going
yeah,
to get to you, Gustav.
yeah. So also, I think that many people discounted the fact that the second leg was being played in Signal Iduna Park. So I think that was also a huge factor in Dortmund winning the match. Of course, we all know that Atletico is probably, I mean, if one of the best, or if not the best, I don't know about this season, but of recent years, they have been the best team defensively. But we know that like Dortmund as well, with its home support, with its
Yellow
crowd,
ball.
they can motivate the players, and Dortmund have like very entertaining and attacking players who on that day can beat any team in the world. So I initially predicted Atletico to win this, but after Dortmund got that goal in Wanda Metropolitano, I started thinking that Dortmund had a better chance. So I think in the end, I think I just saw what unfolded, what I perceived would happen just happened. So I think Dortmund with their energy, so with the motivation and everything,
Yep.
I
Dortmund,
think
like
they
you
won
said,
the match
Dortmund with
against
Signal
Atletico
Iduna Park
Madrid.
and the
And
yellow balls firmly behind them.
also recently, Atletico, like
Yes,
this
Gustav, please
season,
carry
they're
on.
very poor in La Liga, according to their standards. Although they have been very good at home, still, like when they're going away, they've not been good. Even against like low-level La Liga teams, they've been losing. So I'm not so surprised that Dortmund beat Atletico. Who did they beat in the round of 16? Dortmund. I think they beat a strong team, right?
I don't remember correctly. If
It
it
was,
remember
it
correctly, it
was
was
PSG.
Porto,
It
right?
was PSG. It was
Porto
PSG.
was
It was
PSG.
a long
Arsenal.
time
They
Porto
ago,
was
were
right?
in
Arsenal.
a tough group
PSP.
stage.
Yeah.
I think they had
PSP,
PSG,
yeah.
Newcastle, and some other tough team.
Newcastle.
So
Newcastle.
yeah,
Newcastle.
they have not been good in the Bundesliga this season, but they
So two
have
teams from the group
quietly
of
been
death
good
have
in the Champions
qualified.
League this season. I will not be surprised if they even reach the finals. But I see that, like, Dortmund are playing the second leg in Paris, so I think I'll say Paris are favorites, but I won't be surprised if Dortmund reach the finals as well. I think people underestimating them helps them as well. Yeah.
I think that
At
is
least
where,
it did this
like
time around.
looking at the quarterfinals, if you see so many goals scored, but all of the games were ultimately draws. So that is where I think scrapping the away goals rule kind of is not looking so great, because you had teams going in and scoring at away goals. Uh, so like 3 goals, 4 goals, and it basically was useless. And also another thing is, if you look at the Madrid Manchester game, it was an unfair advantage for City because they played 30 minutes extra at their home. uh, that is where I think if
Yeah.
90-90 you're done, you should immediately go to penalties rather than giving another team an advantage in the second leg. That is like, I don't think is a good.
Or else you could just stick to your old methods and let the away goals rule matter, because when the
Yeah,
second leg happens, there is the added pressure of playing in your home, because although you have the home crowd behind you, if there is a draw, the goal that the away team scores tends to matter more. So I was always a fan of the away goals rule. I did not think it was deservedly scrapped. But yeah, since you already touched upon the topic, last mirror, we move on to discuss the another blockbuster fixture that we had last week, where Man City played Real Madrid. The first leg was an absolute treat, 3-3. It was almost a game of basketball. I would say teams, one team hitting the other, getting punched, hitting back. But this time around, it played out slightly differently, and there were a lot of call outs or controversies by the so-called football purists that Real Madrid did a robbery, it was black magic, it was heist of the century, it was an undeserved win. Even so far as after the game, Rodri, the Man City midfielder, he came out to say, incidentally, it was also the first time Rodri started a City game for some 40 times, and it was the first time he was on the losing side. So Rodri came out and said,
technically no, he has not lost because it was a draw and they won on penalties. So
yeah, they lost it.
on
They
technical
lost it in
terms, it
shootouts.
is still not a game
He's
where he has
still
ultimately
unbeaten.
lost. Yeah.
Yeah, but he came out and said that he never saw Real Madrid during the game. So ultimately, it also leads to that argument if there is this
I mean, we
particular
never
way
see City
football
in
should
the
be played or not.
semi-finals.
I'll
Football
leave it to the
heritage.
Real fan,
Just two
football
words: football
heritage. Yeah,
heritage. That's it.
I'll leave
Aura.
it to the Real Madrid fan to shed light upon what happened in the match, how his team performed. Is he happy with how Real won, and what are his thoughts? So, Khrushchev, over to you.
Okay, so I'm just going to condense this to the second leg. I'm not going to talk about the first leg unless you guys want me to talk about it.
Let's focus on the second.
So, yeah. So I mean the tactics were pretty clear from both teams. Man City with their usual brand of possession football, trying to attack from every side. Every side. I mean every side. When I say every side, like they had 4 or 5 attackers up front in every side. They tried to attack from every side, and the thing is, the difference between the first leg and the second leg is we had defenders closing in spaces much better in this second leg compared to the first leg. So we made cardinal mistakes in the first leg, so which led us to conceding 2 goals against them, which shouldn't have been conceded, and I think we should have won that leg in my opinion. This leg, it is expected that they would be getting possession and everything. So I mean, like lot of these pundits, lot of these fans, they will all say that it is luck, black magic, blah blah blah, all these things. But I would ask them to watch the game closely and without any bias, if they can do that. I would ask them to watch it patiently for 120 minutes. So the thing is, Carlo Ancelotti is a very experienced coach. So he's been coaching for like around 30 years. So I mean, like his tactic was he had to set in all the players defensively. It doesn't matter, like if City came in and was passing around in the D box, it did not matter to them at all. And Real's not like a team which has not faced these kind of matches before. They know how to handle pressure. They have been in these kind of situations before. So it was a deliberate tactic by Ancelotti. So I mean, you can lay, I mean, like Many people label this as park the bus, park the train, etc. All these things, but it was just pure good defensive football. And also, when we got the chances, we found some spaces to attack, and we also had a few chances to score the other side. I mean, also not as much as City, we also had a few chances to score. And we have right now the our this season, ever since this Benzema left, we have been playing a 4-4-2 diamond formation with Kamavinga in defensive midfield, and this side we have Cruz, and we mostly Valverde, and Bellingham as somewhat Cam second striker hybrid, and Vinny and Rodri up front, so kind of up front. So the thing is, once they attack, whenever we get some time on the ball, whenever we get the ball, we can immediately switch it to a quick counter attack. So I mean, like we have, it helps the fact that we have very good passes in the midfield, and we have Vinny and Rodrigo who can make good runs. And we also have seen that both of them can find other players really well. Their vision is also pretty good, especially Rodrigo. I'm telling you, Rodrigo's IQ is highly underrated. And I mean, so that's why I think he scored the goal both in the Bernabeu leg. I think he scored in the Bernabeu leg, and also here in the second leg. So it was just good, deliberate. I mean, we were just defending, and we were also making the fouls. The fouls which we made were also very very crucial. We made like crucial fouls at the crucial moments. So they were small things, which led us to the win. As first to the draw and then win in the penalties. So we were ready to defend for our lives. I mean, all these players, they just, I mean, they did not care, like, what other people were thinking. They just simply focused, simply defending. And throughout the entire 120 minutes, especially in the last 30 and 40 minutes, people like Rudiger, Carvajal got cramps and he had to leave the field. I mean, he's excellent in big games against the best players. And Mendy is very good defensively. Attacking wise, he's not good, but defensively, he's one of the best. And he's for me the best defensive left back Real Madrid has ever had. And yeah, so and also we had Militao coming in, and we had some good midfielders who could pass through. Whenever we had people like Cruz who can pass really well if they are put under pressure as well. So whenever a team is pressing us, we have players like Cruz and Modric. Modric is of course not playing that much, but like Cruz is very good in terms of passing. So it is a deliberate setup by Carlo Ancelotti to do all this. So it's not something like which the media and many casual or not so well informed fans are talking about. And as far when it went to penalties, I was not saying I was not I was not I don't know I didn't want to sound arrogant by saying that 100% we are going to win this, but I was pretty confident. I was pretty confident because I knew that these players can handle pressure really well. Unlike Manchester City, whom I don't think handles pressure that well. But yeah, I mean, I think first
And
they
thank you
scored.
for the in-depth.
Yeah, just one, just like last, just one. This act one. I think just like after that, they scored the first goal, and then we score, and then we missed, and then Bernardo Silva missed the chance. So I think that is where the tide turned. So after that, I knew that we were going to win, and Lucas Vasquez was doing this juggling before the penalty. So the kind of mentality our players have. So
I thought
I'm
we
a
got the
confident man when it
second
is any team
Carlo
under
against
pressure.
Cyprus, man. I thought
Yeah.
that's
I
where
mean,
you
that's
really feel the game.
what did happen. I mean, the power of friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just have one comment here. I think as Jose Mourinho once said, "You can keep the ball. I'll keep my 3 points." So there's no bad, good football or purist football. It's just football. I mean, what do you expect? We'll leave out all the defenders on the goalkeeper, and we'll have six players. We're going to hit the ball. I mean, how does that work for a football? I think
Yeah.
there's too much emphasis on that. But then you also had a very good possession strong team, and Ancelotti, knowing it, had, I mean, as Gustav told, right? I mean, absolutely amazing compact defensive performance. I mean, if Man City couldn't break that defense, I don't think so. I don't think they have even put a foot wrong there. I mean, it was so pitch perfect. And whenever they have the opportunity, they have amazing players who do proper, purest, direct football. I mean, what's better to watch than a wingers run down the flank and just hit it first time? So I don't think there's anything Pure should complain on. I think there's Man City to go back to a drawing board and probably look at the stats. It's not that bad, man.
I think I think at any point of time you should have a team which is adaptable. Like just playing the same game all the time is good as long as you have like a perfect system like City or Liverpool has. But what Real Madrid does, you cannot question it at any specific point of time. They are adaptable. In games that they can dominate, they dominate. In games they cannot dominate, they do what they can do to win the game. So that is what is important ultimately speaking. So
And I also want to, I think we have spoken a lot of tactics in depth, especially thanks to our resident Madrid fan. Just let's take a look at the possession, right? It perfectly sums up what Sankit was talking about as well. You can keep the ball. That's exactly what City was doing, and it was not good enough. Because at the end of the day, I mean, me being the Barca fan who was a victim of that 81% possession but 2-1 loss against Celtic, it doesn't matter. You keep the ball for 99%. That's not the game. The rules of the game is you put the ball in the back of the net. And as you can see, Madrid did that more times than City across two legs. I mean, the asterisk being
See,
in
Miska, I have
penalties.
a comment on this.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we all do agree that what matters in football is winning. But due to the what we earlier described as purists, there is a certain feeling in a large part of the footballing community that yes, winning is well and good, but then there is a better way to win than just winning. So there is a sense of superiority if you are winning that the fans tend to feel. If you are winning while your team dominates possession, creates more chances, keeps 60-70% of the ball, and then wins. So it is about that superiority complex which certain fans and even players tend to have these days. So it's not just about winning anymore, it's winning convincingly, and this convincingly has been very much restricted to this one approach where the team has to keep the ball in midfield, keep recycling it, keep taking shots, and it is that sense of superiority that the fans feel that is the actual problem. So when some team wins, like how Real Madrid won yesterday, they tend to want to take away some shine or some shimmer of their achievement by saying, oh, they won by playing defensive football. The problem is that it is easier said than done. When somebody says they played defensive football and won, it is not an insult, because first of all, defending is not easy. Keeping a team which has the likes of Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland, Doku, Grealish out defending for over 120 minutes is no easy task. First thing. So when somebody says they won by playing defensive football, that is, I do not consider it an insult in any way. That is a job, that is part of football. It has to be done in a particular way. Secondly, they make it seem like, okay, this is some relegation team's tactic of just withholding, parking the bus, and going against a top team. No, there is a difference when Stoke City does that against Alex Ferguson's Manchester United, and Real Madrid does that against Man City, because Real Madrid are a team stacked with quality players. And in order to take that approach and win against a side that works as efficiently as Manchester City, you need quality, which is exactly what Real Madrid have. And this can be also said with previously maligned defensive teams of the old. For example, Mourinho's Porto, Mourinho's Chelsea, the current Real Madrid. All these teams, they are A, extremely good at defending. B, they are able to hit the counter and make their chances count, because they have players who can hit that magical pass, who can thread the ball, who can cut in and score, who can outrun your fastest fullback, who can finish the one chance that they have all through the game. Because for the Real Madrid goal, if you look at how the goal came to be, Bellingham, he plucked the ball out of thin air with a silky first touch, moved it to the right wing. The cross came in and Rodrigo finished. The quality was shining through there. So when you say that Real Madrid played defensive football and won, you're not addressing the quality that they were showing on the pitch. It was also the
That,
same
that
because Chelsea teams of past, they were not going to win by playing defensive football if they did not have the likes of wonderful, amazing players like Juan Mata, Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, Arjen Robben. So it is easier said than done. So I am very much with Real Madrid on this side. I hate the team. I have no liking towards Real Madrid, but I have the respect. Now I'll just conclude what I'm trying to say with an anecdote. If I remember correctly, Jorge Sampaoli shared. He said, I went to this bar. I sat together. I talked to this girl. We talked whole throughout the night, and we got to know each other really well. But after I was while I was chatting with the girl, this dude comes in. He takes her to the washroom. They make love, and the girl leaves with her. But at least I have had more possession of the girl, so I go back to home a winner. So that is exactly the approach that these people are trying to say. At the end of the day, it's a knockout game. You win, you progress, you go, and that is what matters. And Real are through to the semis. Man City are not, and Man City fans honestly they can suck it. And the others who say the win was undeserved.
Absolutely. I think you brought in a brilliant point by highlighting Real's quality, right? So I think we focus so much on mentality, which is obviously their biggest strength. We tend to overlook a lot of other positives that Real Madrid have that helps them get there. They are clinical with their finishing, and they have, like you said, world class players like Bellingham or Cruz who do 7, 8 other things right
Rudiger,
in the league
Nacho,
too. Yeah, Nacho, or even take French players like Lunin is such a classic example, right? Just compare him with somebody like Iñaki uh, Peña in who's Barca's uh, second choice keeper. When Ter Stegen was out, we were shipping goals like anything because our backup goalkeeper was simply not up to the task. He crumbled under pressure, while the same role in a Real Madrid setup, he does so much more. You can argue that he was the man of the match performance yesterday. I don't know who the official man of the match was. And I think, as Sanket once told, this whole superior way of playing reminds us of cricket. Me being an Australia fan and all, we have to touch on this, right? So it's the baseball way that we see in cricket for people who also watch cricket. And that's exactly how things unfolded in the series against India. Baseball, Ben Stokes, they have this, very hearty outlook to the game, and it's okay. You can keep it. What did it get them? Like a 4-1 loss in what is supposedly your greatest era in Test cricket since you invented cricket. Plasta, you want to add on anything to that?
No, I just want to give my shout out to Carvajal. He got a yellow card so early in the game. He kept Grealish and Doku quite all game after that, in spite of being booked for almost 120 minutes. And yeah, he's certainly the man of the match, like a proper leader, captain you would want on the pitch. And yeah, totally. And many people also forget that Real Madrid is missing like so many important players like Courtois. And I don't think City would have even scored 3 goals in the first leg if Courtois was there to start with. So missing so many key players, and despite of that, them performing the way that they have been performing, just saying that it is luck or parking the bus or defensive football is wrong. As Thierry Henry said in the post match, like defending is still a part of the game. Unless you just want to pass and keep the possession, that's not the case, or that's not the complete game. Defending is also a part of the game, and Real Madrid defended well, and hence they are through. So yeah, City can stick it up their ass, uh, and Bernardo Silva's penalty should be added to the
uh,
115
I can
charges that
see
they
the
added.
United fan leaking out in between all the objectivity and
Yeah,
pure
yeah.
truth.
Yeah, it's the Hala Madrid GGMU set of fans, I would say. Like, if not United, I would any day support Real Madrid to win the
Yeah, I
Champions
think
League.
that's a
So,
very interesting segue to our last segment. I
One,
think
I have
we also had.
just one shout out. Vinicius, this Mbappe, that Bellingham, this Rodrigo, as someone else that. I mean, the real clutch player Real Madrid have since Ronaldo is Rodrigo. That guy, he always goes under the radar. I mean, I just a shout out for him. I mean, a lovely player, never complains, off and on and off the bench, always performs.
Rodrigo is what they make out Vinicius to be. He should be getting all the
Yeah,
flowers.
unfair man. I mean, unfair. Vinicius is really good, but yeah, the clutch
But you
is
get
Rodrigo.
what I mean, right? So Vinicius gets so much more, he's so much more on the spotlight when Rodrigo does the same or sometimes better and goes under the radar. But I loved how both VS and Casemiro finished their monologues with, City can suck it. The rare instance where you see a Chelsea fan and a United fan bonding over their mutual dislike for City. And speaking of mutual dislikes, you boys get to party once again when we discuss the last fixture. And I think Sanket will also join in him being another United fan. Arsenal versus Bayern Munich. I think the elephant has finally gotten off the brownies.
Arsenal.
Lol.
I think
They
everyone prayed for Bane, and the God answered the prayers by sending Arsenal out.
I was just going to post. We used to pray for times like this.
let's not ignore the fact that Arsenal's entire title run in two different competitions came to end in the space of like 3 days. I mean, that talks a lot about the club in terms of their ability to actually win something despite how good they actually are, which I certainly don't deny. I mean, major achievement coming this far, and
I know
they
none
did
of
not
us
crumble
are.
against Bayern like they
I,
usually do,
I just
but they lost and absolutely elated.
No,
Guys,
I
I
think
have a
that
question.
elation aside, I mean, I'm liking how Arsenal are playing this season. I mean, how they have grown in the Mikel Arteta is something really great. I mean, the team is really playing a very, very, very young team, playing that free-flowing football, pragmatic at times. I mean, this season defense has been very solid. I mean, it was shocking, right? I think this has happened last season as well, where they fumbled ago. But I think it's a lot to expect from this team at this point of time. I mean, you are competing neck to neck with City and Liverpool in that kind of a form. Even Aston Villa pushing for the title for the second year in row without losing that confidence under those young players, and then going so far in the Champions League. In Champions League is always a bit tricky, right? They're still coming off. They don't have a legacy of winning a Champions League, and you're coming off against a Bayern Munich, which is pretty angry since Xavi Alonso lifted their ban. Every time Bayern lose, they come back stronger. They hit you back harder. So I think the that loss has pinched them a lot to perform harder. A sad loss for Arsenal. I mean, really good team. I was expecting them to go ahead. I think they deserve a trophy. Mikel Arteta at least deserves a trophy more than that FA Cup title. I think
I
he has
have a
done.
feeling both Rasa and VS will disagree with that, but I'm gonna throw in a
Yeah.
question before VS you wanna jump in. So, like Sanket said, I know you guys have this bias towards Arsenal, very understandable. And I like kudos to Sanket for being a United fan and being so objective about this. My question is, since Arteta took over 5 years, Arsenal were proper, joke of a club, mid-table, but now we are looking them at as, serious contenders. I know they're still not there where they go on till the finish line, but they are still in contention for Premier League, like with what, some 4 or 5 games left. And Champions League 2 years ago, nobody would have, looked twice at this fixture. It would have been a formality for Bayern Munich. The fact that this Arsenal team uh, made the game relevant as long as they did, right? They were in the game for more than 80% of the fixture across 2 legs. Objectively, do you think Arsenal are much better under Arteta? Do you
I
Objectively,
think
told you
it's
I,
very
I
much
told you
clear that
last.
Arsenal are much better. Sorry, Klasimir.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll just finish
even
it.
in the last stream, objectively speaking, Arteta has to be given his due credit. As I told
Yeah,
you last
I
in the
agree.
last stream, I had three options: either Liverpool winning their 20th, City winning their fourth, or Arsenal winning their the title. Out of which, ideally speaking, I should choose Arsenal, knowing Liverpool and City should not win. But the main issue is the hype that their fans give for their players all the time, and the way they hype their
Exactly.
own team when they are not that good enough. If you had a realistic expectation about your team, I am 100%. I adore Wenger. I have genuinely felt Arteta has done a good job after his initial 2 years. He has done a very good job and got a decent first 11 and a decent squad, and he's doing extremely well. And you have to give credit because whenever Wenger used to come to Bayern, it used to be 5-1 all the time. And there is also a comment which says if you go to YouTube and see AFTV videos, you have to search with the date because they have lost to Bayern 5-1 so many times that you need to give the date and know which date they have lost. And to come from there to here, you have to give Arteta Arsenal, and not just Arteta, Edu, as much as credit as
Yeah,
Arteta deserves, because their technical direction and the sporting direction that they have is like top notch right now. So you have to give credit, but it is mainly that all these uh, hyping up saying like Saka is going to beat you, or Martinelli is the best thing to happen ever on this planet. Those things I do not agree, and you
I
cannot
completely agree with Klasimiro.
uh, and you cannot take down Bayern, who is like a sleeping giant right now, where they have lost not just a sleeping giant but a wounded giant. who have won the trophy so many times, and you cannot discredit that we are just going to go and walk in with a win at Allianz Arena, which is like a tough or a daunting place to go.
Lockdown kids will never remember the OG Arsenal versus United rivalry.
Yeah. ODVs, yeah.
Yeah, so I would like to I would like to add some things about this game. So first, like this particular match versus Bayern versus Arsenal, I felt that Arsenal playing in Emirates at home in a Premier League match and playing somewhere in Europe in a Champions League night, they are completely two different teams, because in one they're not facing pressure. You see how good they are, and here coming to Bayern, so I only watched the highlights. I wanted to watch the full match, but I was exhausted after watching the replay of Real City. So I saw like smoke in Allianz Arena, fans jumping up and down with that noise, the stadium being. I mean, that everything looked. I think from their point of view, everything looked so alien that they were not able to bring their best in that particular tie. So I think they can use this as an experience, but I think they are like 2-3 years away from being a European heavyweight. But I think this is a good experience for them. But yeah, like you said, like the fans, I mean, I think they are getting too far ahead as far as the progress is concerned. But there has been progress in the last 4 to 5 years, and I can see Arteta building a team for the future. But lot will depend on how this season goes, and also I think he'll be there next season. But a lot will depend on this particular time frame, how Arsenal's future.
Arteta, I also agree with Khrushchev and Casemiro. It's very clear that Arteta has done a very commendable job. But I'll tell you I mean, future. I'm just going to predict it. I have already seen it. What is going to happen is they are going to steadily improve. But by the time they have steadily improved and gotten to a point where they will actually win something, the others will have overtaken them. By then, Liverpool, Chelsea, United, they are all going to be winning trophy by the time Arsenal is ready, as it has always happened. I'll just conclude today's episode by pointing out also the fact that all the so-called football purists' favorite coaches, Pep and the boys, Pep Guardiola, Xavi at Barcelona, and Arteta, who is also from that same school of thought in terms of football, have all lost. So possession has lost, but football keeps winning. And with that, we get ready for another round of UCL this later this year. And thank you all for joining here with us. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Thank you.